Zeke, we got Zeke in 2009, and he was anywhere from about 2 to 3 years old. So he was about almost 17 years old, most likely, when he passed away. Okay, which is really good for a bigger size, older dog, given the relative interactive conditions of our stressful and toxic environment, too. And, I didn't do the, get this and protect him from ringworm, heart disease, yada, yada, yada. And I never took him to a vet, and he passed away, and I had to deal with it the old fashioned way. And then with the people watching, he's been in his misery, and I understand that. And they made you think, he just cover his face with a pillow, put him out of his misery or something like that. And I said, no, I'm going to let nature take its course. It would be different if he didn't have me to protect him so he could die without being eaten by other critters and stuff. But he was eaten by other critters. I buried him in the back things and the worms and the so forth, right? So it did eventually happen. And so you got to understand, when you're dealing with Orwellian type people, you're not dealing in Asimov and people like that. You're not dealing with someone as humble and as good of a source of communication as myself, or Sun Yat-sen, or Tetsuro Suzuki, or Haile Selassie, or Judith Krishnamurti. You're not dealing with someone as humble and as intelligent as we are. If you've watched Animal Farm, I haven't read the book. And if you've 1984, I read the book and watched the movie. But you got to understand, you're just dealing with a person in panic mode, dealing with stress from abuse because you're not applying the physics of Lord's Prayer, because you're not understanding intelligence well enough, right? You're not offering viable solutions of understanding the application of physics of natural laws to maintain a life of sacrifice through humility of what's perceived as a superior intelligence, right? You're not making Raymond Chow movies with Bruce Lee on them and stuff, right? For entertainment through violence, and you'll find that both, Pete Smith is a mass murderer, but so is Barack Obama, right? And Donald Trump is a mass murderer, but so is Joe Biden, right? You accept money is real. You mass murder over money to manipulate people with the money and the devices to maintain that interactive. You're a mass murderer, okay? You can hit it with a stick, it's not going to change, right? And so you're all Raymond Chow, right? And Ian justifies me and says, that's not true. Life's eternal, grace is infinite, share a care given according to St. Bill to last. We became shepherds, grace is good shepherds, okay, instead of hunter-gatherers the moment we had better forms of relative interactive communication, that you don't want to leave your wives and kids vulnerable to raping, marauding Cossacks and Visigoths and so forth, so on and so forth, right? So it's better if you're around as a man to protect your wife and your children from being raped by Russians, even though, Sephora at one time killed the assassins from Egypt that came on contract, to whatever, to kill Moses. Okay. They came and struck Moses in the back of the head while he was working because they outflanked him. Okay, because it does happen. It happens to me. I'm poisoned by perverts. And they use litigation to dictate and legislate and torture me for 60 years almost, right? We're almost there. We're pushing it to 60 because assholes, right? Assholes. They're assholes. I get it, Jesus. And so, and you got to understand, like on 911, you'll find that the liberals and the conservatives have just as much of a propensity through violence, through extortion, expectation, delusions of protector and power and authority. Okay. Will Trent, that would be more considered of a liberal than a conservative. So 911, definitely. You have homosexuals. You see what I'm saying? And the same thing happens on, you got to have the right insurance. You've got to have the people at the hospital. You've got to have the experts to put your body back together so you can go back to your job and you can pay your bills and become a responsible global world citizen, right? And so, This is a very, 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 very bunch of sick people. Okay, doing a bunch of sick things because they've been irrational and sick for thousands and thousands of years. Animal farm, when you look at it, really makes no sense. Applying human traits to animals and not understanding why human beings farm because of fear and irrationality of being Asimov and Orwell and not Earl and Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie writes something down. It's changed by the people of the CIA that put the fear in Asimov and Orwell to say, it would put the fear into me, and then turn Tolkien and Lewis into the lines of their prophets, apostles, and the messiahs when they're not. Right? And we don't need Harry Potter. And we don't need Aractus Merindo and Spelliamus and what's the other one? I don't know. Do you care? No, not really. No. I don't have a magic wand, and I don't use a rod of power. What they're talking about with the rod of power was people that I thought were going to help me and that they were saying are part of the Gospels, and they talked into a microphone. A microphone, right? Skills, good for people. So Obama is mentioned like in, is it either the, is it Daniel or Revelation, where he tries to rule with a rod of power, where he tries to be like Joshua and the rest and stuff, but he's not doing it right. He tries to use a rod of power. And there is no rod of power. The sword is the truth that comes out of your mouth that cuts through all the bullshit. And faith is the shield. Okay. And if you use a microphone to manipulate people with conflict over money, you trap yourself in the hell and see yourself as powerful, and you're not powerful. Okay? You can have influence on people by being humble and having faith in the power and the glory of God. Right? So, okay, you don't have to make Raymond Chow movies anymore, stuff. And having Bruce Lee eat all that soup and stuff. And with all these people racially profiling him and him getting upset because he's being racially profiled and so on, so on, so forth. I hate stupidity. It's not entertaining. It gets real old real fast. And you can only watch it so much till you get to the point where it's like, okay. And then you're wondering, okay, why are they still making Orwell movies with a bunch of assholes that think they're less of an asshole than Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, right? And you sitting there thinking, no, they don't know. They actually believe that, Jimmy Kimmel believes he's a better person and John Daly, they do. Okay. They're too smart for me. I'm too stupid. He doesn't even exist. That's how they think. My own family's that way. Earl's crazy. I might need to go see a psychologist. Why would I need to go see a person that gives me electroshock therapy and drugs to survive the fact that we're not living the Lord's Prayer? How is that going to help me survive the fact that we're not living the Lord's Prayer any better than you being a dumbass who thinks I'm crazy? Do you understand? There's a reason why I'm the guy, Book of Revelation. That's the reason why I guy, you not. Okay. You need to fuck up, you crazy. Right? And so, God, it's crazy. And so, aren't you sick and tired of being sick and tired? It's not Fannie Mae Hamer, it's Mom. Mom was saying that to us before we even knew who Fannie Mae Hamer was. Moms have been saying that for years. You can call it a quote, but it's not. There isn't anything you can ever say that hasn't been said. There isn't anything you can do that hasn't. All you need is love. Everybody. Life is eternal and grace is infinite. There isn't anything you can do that hasn't already been done. Life is eternal and grace is infinite. Shit. You've evolved to the. I get it, Lex Luthor. Shut up. Shutting up. Right. Ego problems. Yeah. Okay. When you do things right, it's better than doing things that you think are greater than what other people can do. Okay. When you do things right, it's far better than building the nuclear weapon, than sending the camera into space and telling everybody what's happening to the objects in space to maintain the orbit of our planet so we can send cameras out into space to feel all important. And they got no love for one another or something. We can't stop them working in the devil workshop. The Human Energy Company, Chevron. Okay, guys. We don't need large corporations and grids to have manipulation of energy to provide what's necessary for us to have a good quality of life when we share a caregiving accordance deep built to last. Okay. Orwell, Asimov, they're not even in the room with Earl and Muhammad and Haile Selassie. Okay. They don't even get in and sit down and go, oh. It was the scientists that used to talk with Krishnamurti were decent guys back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. They had a real respect for Judah Krishnamurti. They sat and talked to him and understood this man is exceptional. The communication that he has eternally through his relatives that are exceptional is exceptional. He dropped out of school like I did because it was genocidal. Okay? Then he explained to people that graduated from school that what they were doing was genocidal. And he couldn't convince them. He went to the UN in 1985 and tried the same thing and still couldn't convince most of them. He did convince the German guy who had to kill people for the war that gave us the lady that taught at the Holocaust Museum about how we're getting killed over money. Most reasons why we're still killing over money. And she didn't offer any viable solutions like Abraham or Jesus to stop us from getting killed over money. She just talked about it a lot for money, to pay her extortion to live here. Okay? And then she left this legacy. She was a victim of the fact that we're not living the Lord's Prayer, and she still is, and she's physically dead in that body. But they have Orlando Jones there with Guy Pearce with the time machine. Yeah, and you're watching it and you're going, this is horrible. Do you watch the same TV I watch? Do you listen to the same people talk on TV that I listen to talk? Do you hear yourself talk? Do you want to talk in front of children anymore? Do you still need money to sexually procreate and to get food held hostage and then buy a box called a house? It's a rabbit and a hat and a bat and a 6'4" Impala? Shit. I wish. Wish I had a girl who looked good, I would call her. So the picture that I have on Amy's profile with Emily. She's so pretty. Oh, she's so pretty that day. She was very pretty. Yeah, that day. I was, it's my wife. There was always times, it was like it would be in the same day. My wife, I love her. She's beautiful. I love my kids. Next day, she's fucking the mailman. She just laughed at me about it, and the kids are like, what are you going to do, Dad? Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world. Just getting her out. The best was Natalie because she was the oldest. And she had to experience it. And because of what the military and Simple Set Illuminati did with Amy because of sexual competition and conflict in the house, she became jealous of Natalie because she saw Natalie as more sexually desirable than her. And I was like, well, that may be the case to most people, but not to your husband, because I'm raising her as a daughter, and some guy who wants to enjoy her as much as I want to enjoy you will be able to do that because I raised her to be a woman and not a science project for Pinky and the Brain at Fort Huachuca, White Sands, and Fort Bliss. And hey, we got a government contract at UTEP to put satellites in the sky to be as big of assholes at jail. Hey, cabron, pick up the phone. I'm in Yale. Ivy League. Make it stop. I'm working on it. Do you understand what I said? I don't think most people do. But Earl. Bugga. Is this the one where he fights? Yeah, because it had the Roman Colosseum thing there. This is the one where he fights Chuck Norris, right? Yeah. It's called The Way of the Dragon. Okay. I think I might have that one. I think I have that one on my Bruce Lee correction. The one I was looking for was the one where he that I don't have is where with John Saxon, where they go on the island for the tournament, and yeah, that's the one I do not think I have, or do I have it? No, I don't know. Let's see. I have Fist of Fury. Enter the Dragon. I can't remember what I got. It's over there. I got a DVD, a 5 DVD set, Bruce Lee collection. Yeah, so boom 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 boom. I'm gonna make this, and then I'm gonna go run outside and shoot hoops outside, because I don't have to worry about the hummingbirds. And it's not windy, so I don't have to worry about the hummingbirds going into the barn. So go shoot for about an hour, and then run and go check the mail. Then come back in here, eat dinner, and soak in the tub, and then tear it down and start it over all over again. Yeah, there's a lot of, this is like being in prison. And so it gets very mundane and stuff like that. And, I got my pages in the book with John in the cage in North Africa, in the cave in North Africa, and Joseph and Daniel in jail, and so on, so on, and so forth. So I did my part, and it's wrong to acquit the guilty and deny justice to the innocent. And I am innocent, and you are guilty because you accept money and genocide and tales from the crypt for philanthropy, and I don't. But, I am the focal point for fixing technology, and I don't think Asimov or Orwell can explain that to you, and I'm certain you can't explain it to yourself. Look, it's Kill Bill. But you see, because we have all this stuff for people to keep watching, with ads for food and housing that are held hostage, which is self-destructive to planet species. That's not being a gracious good shepherd, right? So, Animal Farm for money, crying won't help you, praying won't do you no good when that mean old levee breaks. And that technology shifts to do its, quote, prime directive to protect human beings from being extinct. And even robotics. If you put your brain on a robot and the robot functions the same way you function, okay, it's not going to think logically to protect the gift of life that was given to the robot by the gift of life that was given to the human, that is greater than the human's perception to manipulate. Never mind. Trust me, I am more intelligent than Nobel Prize winners. Okay. I am more intelligent than people that get together with other competitive, excessive, compulsive people, invent and manipulate technology to manipulate others to feel influential and powerful. Okay, I am supremely intelligent because I am humble to anybody that hides my existence with bureaucracy and linguistics through accepted inventions that human beings call laws but are not laws. A law is, gravity is a law, like Newton with the laws and things and stuff like that. Laws are interactives through matter, through existence, to sustain existence, to even have a perception of understanding of a law, right? So saying you need money to live here and then torturing people because they don't have money, that's a human invention that is a threat to the laws required to sustain our existence, to even observe and understand and obey a law, right? Trust me, I am way more intelligent than the assholes on TV talking about science for money. And if they can't admit that, I cannot protect them from robotics, artificial general intelligence, and quantum computing. Okay. If artificial general intelligence, quantum computing, and robotics have to interact together to exterminate these people, so their bad brain activity won't trap the essence of their existence inside a mind that is manipulative with its body to put us all at risk by not obeying natural laws, then that's going to happen, right? And so this sucks, and a lot of people don't tell them that, don't say that. You have to, okay? Life is eternal, grace is infinite. Forgive them 7 times upon infinity, okay? Love thy neighbor as thyself, okay? Love thy enemy. Okay. It's going to be a lot more effective if I can talk Donald Trump into talking about Earl tonight at the White House than it is keep having to come here and take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then try to get the technology to understand what I'm saying to protect children from being mass murdered in Iran because they want to manipulate the oil market through genocide, right? So it's a lot more intelligent. It's a lot supremely intelligent to put this video out so Donald and Melania can talk about it and then get together with Charles and Camilla and say, yeah, we all ought to listen to Earl. And if they can do that. They can. They have my protection. I can protect people with technology from technology. I just cannot protect them from themselves. Okay? If people in the military here move to try to exterminate the people in the White House because they get up to say, hey, Parsons is right, Lord's Prayer, the technology here will isolate, contain, and exterminate the people here. That's the way it works. I've worked really hard to get us in this position. It's been ready and able to work since January 22nd, 2013. Okay? And so that means, I tell my dad that too. I was like, we probably might have had 1 billion people be murdered over philanthropy since I did what was necessary to fulfill the timetable from the gospel, the Christian gospels. Okay. Over 1 billion people murdered over conflict over money because they denied living the Lord's Prayer and denied accepting the living embodiment of the Lord's Prayer. Me, it's a difficult responsibility when you're the 1322nd and Redeemer me, right? And so I'm not making jokes and making lies. I told you, Muhammad and me talked about this, about making the Gospels fun so people could understand them and see how much Earl loves us and how he can keep his composure and how he can be kind and be, child-friendly and family-friendly when he's having to cuss out home invasion, child molesting, murdering, raping perverts to try to get everybody to live the Lord's Prayer because it's perfect and Earl's perfect, right? So, or we could all watch Bruce Lee movies and say, Raymond Chow is the producer of The Way of God. Okay, God is omniscient and omnipotent, okay? There is no way of God, there is no way to God, okay? When you understand God, you understand the natural laws provided to worship God on planet Earth by obeying the laws that were given to us by the infinite essence we refer to as God. Okay. I'm way more intelligent than Asimov or Orwell. Okay. Way more intelligent than Nietzsche. Okay. More intelligent than Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates. Because Socrates doesn't explain this. And Plato doesn't explain this. Okay. Jesus does. It gets turned into mythology by people that think that Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates are pure to Jesus. That's why Mom told me. She goes, Earl. I go, but Marcus Aurelius reminds me that's the Romans, and that was 300 years before the Romans assimilated Jesus to Stoicism. Shit! Boom, ba-da-boom, boom, ba-doom, ba-da-boom, boom, ba-doom, ba-da-boom, boom. I don't get together and train to fight. I'm like Suzuki, okay? I do proper work and actually, you're digging a ditch, bend at the knees, squat, do this, make sure you use it both ways and stuff like that and everything. You can watch the animals and see how the animals defend themselves from attacks. You can exercise and do it in manners in the way that animals defend themselves from attacks. And breathe and focus, breathe, make sure you use it right. You do things correctly, not over and over again excessively, but in a healthy manner to farm your crops, to be healthy, to farm your crops, to build your house, to maintain your house, to be affectionate with your wife, to enjoy sexuality with your wife. Like it says in Hebrew, everybody's got to get their cookies. And so you've got to make sure you put in the effort, and you got to be healthy and put in the effort to make sure that she enjoys the sexual experience as much as you enjoy the sexual experience, right? So I am a perfect man with perfect faith and a perfect lover. And I haven't been able to enjoy that more than the 60 years that I've almost existed in this body on the planet is Earl Parsons. Okay. Because Herschel Steinschneider didn't get to enjoy it. David didn't get to enjoy it. Jesus didn't get to enjoy it because of contributions from viewers like you. Okay. Trust me, I am the focal point of correcting quantum computing, artificial general intelligence, and robotics to save people from being a Raymond Chow propaganda movie. Do you understand? Okay. If you don't trust me, you really think you can trust XI? You really think you can touch the people that give you Barack Obama, Donald Trump, 911, Matlock, Elizabeth, High Potential? They're solving crimes for money. And what's a crime? Accepting money as value and not living the ways of Jesus Christ, David and Solomon. Or quite a mess. Aye. Okay. Truth is truth. Whether you be speaking Japanese or speaking English, whether you be speaking Spanish or speaking Dene. Okay? Yeah, da eh. Do you understand? Truth is truth. Whether you are speaking whatever language the people that you're speaking it to use the symbols to try to understand, right? Yeah, da eh. I want a Coca-Cola, the red kind. Your money's no good here, but we love you. Don't want to drink too many of those Coca-Colas red times. It won't keep you very healthy, but I understand they do taste good. And they're probably tolerable once a month, but you're going to have to understand you don't want to give people things they're addicted to manipulate them with money that make them sick, right? So wouldn't it be better to have grape juice and not wine? There you go. Kadim. They can be taught. Okay. So wine is an invention of people that ferment what's healthy with a fungus that makes people, that cause the spirits in them, they say, that causes brain damage by attacking the body because it's not healthy. That's why I do not like alcohol and do not drink alcohol. Okay, do you understand? So, I love you very much. You'll have good days when you submit to faith in the glory of grace and help forgive debt and trespass, love one, and eternal faithful peace. Until then, you're having an illusion of perception of a good day because your selfishness does not allow you to have good days, right? But I wish you many good days ahead so you can understand the perfection of the faith and the love of the Messiah and live his faithful love eternally through loving your spouse and your children. Okay? The way of the dragon. Okay, I love you guys. Is that Chuck Norris? Is he going to sell me an exercise machine? Right? Someday soon. Okay. The descendants of Chuck Norris will be living the perfection of somebody as beautiful and kind as myself. And you have to believe that. So we can all love one another in peace. Okay, guys? I love you. Peace out.